If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Cotton is a soft, fluffy staple fiber that grows in a boll or protective capsule around the seeds of cotton plants. Cotton needs a tropical climate because of its need for a long, sunny growing period with frost-free days, lots of sunshine, water, and fertile soil.
Fiber is most often spun into yarn or thread and used to make a soft, breathable textile. Cotton is used to make most t-shirts, towels, socks, sheets, robes, blue jeans, explosives, cotton paper, fishing nets, tents, and is combined with other materials to make satin.
Cotton was independently domesticated in the Old and New World. No one knows exactly how old cotton is. Scientists searching caves in Mexico found bits of cotton balls and pieces of cotton cloth that proved to be at least 7,000 years old. They also found that the cotton itself was much like that grown in America today. Some of the oldest cotton balls were discovered in a cave in Tehuacan Valley, Mexico, and were dated to approximately 5,500 BCE.
Seeds and cordage dating to about 450 BC have been found in Peru. There is reliable genetic evidence that cotton originated in Peru. In Peru, cultivation of an indigenous cotton species was the backbone of the development of coastal cultures such as the Norte Chico, Moche, and Nazca. Cotton was grown upriver, made into nets, and was traded with fishing villages along the coast for large supplies of fish. The Spanish who came to Mexico and Peru in the early 16th century found the people growing cotton and wearing clothing made out of it.
Evidence shows that the Indus Valley Civilization, which is modern-day Pakistan and some parts of India, spun cotton at least since 3000 BCE, as indicated by the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro. Cotton was mentioned in Hindu hymns in 1500 BCE, which proves that it was known to India in ancient times.
Cotton went from Americas to Europe during the Columbian Exchange. Christopher Columbus, in his explorations of the Bahamas and Cuba, found natives wearing cotton, a fact that may have contributed to his incorrect belief that he had landed on the coast of India, since cotton was known to exist in India at those times.
Cotton cloth started to become highly sought after for the European urban markets during the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. The British commercial empire grew the cotton industry enormously. British cotton products were successful in European markets, consisting 40% of exports in 1484 to 1486. Britain's success was also due to its trade with its own colonies, whose settlers maintained British identities and thus fashions.
In England, in the early 1700s, during the height of the British Empire, it was against the law to either import or manufacture cloth from cotton. These laws were enacted to protect the powerful English sheep and wool industry of that time. These restrictions also kept the cotton industry from expanding to the American colonies. However, by the early 1600s, cotton had been introduced to North America, and in 1607, the first seed was planted by colonists along the James River in Virginia. By 1616, colonists were maintaining plantations of cotton along the James River in Virginia. It was believed that cotton was grown by American Indians in the early 1500s, documented from sightings by the Coronado expedition from 1540 to 1542. Cotton seeds are believed to have been planted in Florida in 1556 by the Spaniards.
Tobacco and cotton were the main cash crops of southern North America and were readily accepted by English buyers. The plantation owners built a vast aristocratic life and accumulated a great deal of wealth from their land. They supported slavery as a means of working their land. Because of this, Charleston, South Carolina, became a booming trade town for the southern colonies. South Carolina and Georgia cultivation focused on cultivating cotton and rice. The fact that these colonies maintained an independent trade relation with England and the rest of Europe became a major factor later on as the tension mounted leading up to the American Revolutionary War. Cotton did not become a mainstay until much later, after technological developments, especially the Eli Whitney cotton gin, which separates the lint of a cotton plant from its seed, of 1794, greatly increased the profitability of cotton cultivation. Until that point, most cotton was farmed in large plantations in the province of Carolina, and tobacco, which could be grown profitably in farms of smaller scale, was the dominant cash crop export of the South and the Middle Atlantic states.
Cotton was one of the world's first luxury commodities after sugar and tobacco, and was also the product whose production most dramatically turned millions of Africans in the United States themselves into commodities. Cotton became the first mass consumer item. This resulted in dramatically higher profits for planters, which in turn led to an increase in the demand for more slaves. Cotton was the leading American export. Because of this, the plantation owners of the tropical lowland regions of the Americas needed workers, and they found them by the millions in Africa. The slave trade, which brought these workers to the colonies, and the sugar and cotton trade, which distributed the fruits of their labor abroad, created a lasting link among Africa, Europe, and the Americas, while scattering people of African origin throughout the Western Hemisphere. It took a slave an average of 10 hours to produce 1 pound of clean cotton. Whitney's inspiration was to construct an engine that mechanically separated seed from lint by turning a crank. With it, a slave could produce up to 1,000 pounds of cotton per day. By 1850, the South was exporting over 1 million tons of cotton annually to the hungry textile mills of England. Cotton was king in the South, and its increased labor demands invigorated the institution of slavery. By the beginning of the Civil War, over 3 million slaves tilled the South's soil.